The wind is crisp and sharp against your cheeks, but the cold barely registers. Your gloved hands are tucked under your arms, your scarf wound tightly around your neck, and your boots are already dusted with snow from trudging down the front steps of the castle. It's early, but not too early. Just enough time for excitement to swell without the impatience tipping over. The front gate of Hogwarts stands tall and grand in the distance, black iron frosted white at its edges. Beyond it, the snow-covered path curves toward the village you've only ever heard about in whispers and stories. Hogsmeade, the only all-wizarding village in Britain. A rite of passage. And today, it's finally yours. Around you, the crowd is growing. 3rd years and above, all bundled in cloaks, hoods, and house-colored scarves, gather in uneven clumps along the snowy courtyard. Your own breath clouds in the air as you join your friends near the gates. Someone is already laughing too loudly. Someone else is bouncing in place just to keep warm. Fred and George Weasley are juggling enchanted snowballs nearby, much to the delight and mild alarm of a few first years watching from the castle steps. Careful with those, Georgie, Fred says as he sends a snowball twirling like a quaffle into the air. If it explodes too early, we'll lose half the entertainment, George replies smoothly, snatching it mid-air before it splats. One of the Ravenclaws mutters something about statistical injury rate. You grin. This is chaos, but it's Hogwarts chaos. Familiar, ridiculous, and full of life. The castle looms behind you. Warm lights glowing faintly in the high windows. You can see the great hall's enchanted ceiling flickering with morning clouds. And just for a second, you catch a glimpse of a house elf shaking out a snowy tablecloth from an upper turret. Filch stands by the gate like a miserable scarecrow in patched wool and sour moods, scowling at the mass of cheerful students like they've all personally ruined his morning. He squints at each permission slip like it's a forged Gringotts note and mutters the approval under his breath with the energy of someone who would rather be herding blast-ended scroots. You'd think he'd be happier getting rid of us for a few hours, someone says behind you. Maybe he misses us, you say dryly. We are the joy of his job. There's laughter, low and warm like hot chocolate in the cold. Your friend beside you adjusts their earmuffs, the kind that puff steam when they get too warm. What are you going to do first? They ask, bouncing on the balls of their feet. Honeydukes, you say without hesitation. Then Zonkos. Then Butterbeer. They nod solemnly. A noble plan? I support it. The line shuffles forward slowly as permission slips are checked and counted. You clutch yours a bit tighter in your gloved hand, feeling a nervous flutter in your stomach that's hard to name. Not nerves, really, more like electricity, the kind of buzz that comes before the unknown, before freedom. Because that's what this is. For the first time, you're leaving the castle not on school business or for an escorted errand. You're going into the village on your own terms, with friends, with coins jingling in your pocket, and snowflakes melting on your lashes. You watch as a group ahead of you passes through the gate, their laughter drifting behind them. The wind carries the sound up the hill, blending with the crunch of boots and the rustle of cloaks. Just beyond the gates, the path is flanked by fir trees, dusted with snow, like someone painted the world in powdered sugar. You swear you can see the tops of the buildings from here, just barely. Crooked rooftops and chimney smoke curling into the cold air like spellwork. I heard Honeydukes sells these peppermints that make steam come out your ears, your friend says. I heard they've got fudge that sings if you eat it too fast, says another. I'm buying one of everything, Fred declares somewhere ahead. George is buying the other one of everything. I'm investing in prank futures, George replies. High returns, explosive, even. You smile as Filch grunts something vaguely resembling your name, grabs your permission slip with 2 fingers, like it might be cursed, and then waves you through with the same enthusiasm as a hexed toad. And just like that, you pass under the great wrought iron gates, and the world opens. Snowflakes twirl in the morning light. Your boots sink slightly into the path. The crunch underfoot, almost musical. The wind smells of pine and chimney smoke, and in the distance, the roofs of Hogsmeade glitter like dragon scales in the sun. Your friends cheer as you start down the path. This is it, someone says breathlessly. We're actually going. No teachers, no timetables, no prefects hovering nearby with clipboards and suspicious eyes. Just you, your scarf, a pocket of coins, and the entire magical village waiting to be explored. You keep walking, the cold air stinging your cheeks in the best way. Your friends chatter around you, already arguing about whether to go to Honeydukes or Zonko's first. You stay quiet for a few moments longer, just watching the path unfold. Because this is more than just a trip. This is a memory being made. The kind that glows in the back of your mind years later. The kind you pull forward on gray days. The kind that tells you, I was there. I lived that. The path curves gently, and the village peeks through the trees at last. Closer now, more real, and you feel it in your chest. Wonder, wide and blooming. Welcome to Hogsmeade. The wind is sharper beyond the gates, not unkind, but real. The kind of wind that wakes you up fully, brushing your cheeks red and tugging at the corners of your scarf, like a mischievous breeze from a forgotten spell. The path down to Hogsmeade stretches before you, winding, white, and flanked by snow-dusted fir trees that sway gently in the hush of morning. There's a kind of reverence in the air, like the village at the end of the trail is something sacred, not holy, perhaps, but earned. Your boots crunch against the packed snow, each step adding a print to the soft trail carved by generations of Hogwarts students who've made this same walk, laughing, whispering, daydreaming. You're not just walking, you're joining. You turn back once, just for a moment. The castle stands in the distance, quiet and impossibly grand. The towers rise like frozen spires into the gray-blue sky, their windows glowing gold even in daylight. From here, Hogwarts looks ancient and untouchable, like a secret that never fully gives itself away. Your heart does that strange little ache. It's not homesickness exactly, but the opposite. The feeling of being lucky enough to leave somewhere and know it'll still be there when you return. You press forward, your bag bouncing gently against your side, the sounds of your friends' chatter winding through the air like ribbons. First stop, Honeydukes, someone says confidently. If I don't get a bag of acid pops in the next 10 minutes, I might hex someone. Priorities, says another dryly. Butterbeer, your friend beside you counters. I'm not eating a single sweet until I've had butterbeer. I want to hold the mug with both hands and weep like a literary orphan. You laugh, and the sound is carried off by the breeze, soft and joyful. The path begins to slope downward, and the trees on either side lean in closer, forming a kind of enchanted corridor. The sun filters through their branches, casting fractured light on the snow. Some of the icicles overhead glitter with faint charm work. You recognize one or two from Charms class, probably the work of ambitious Ravenclaws trying to impress Flitwick on their way out of the gate. Ahead, Fred and George are walking just slightly faster than everyone else. You suspect they're trying to reach the village early and set up something. Possibly pranks, possibly a welcome booth, possibly a mobile nose-biting teacup stall. Whatever it is, It will not be ministry approved. A Ravenclaw near the front stumbles in the snow without breaking stride. Her friend pulls her upright with a tug on her cloak and a whispered, "Steady, soldier." A quiet rhythm settles over the group. Boots crunching, bags rustling, excited voices hushed slightly by the weight of snow in the trees. Then comes a patch of ice. You don't notice it until your foot slides out from under you in slow motion. You flail, gracefully. You'd like to believe, and catch yourself on a snowbank, leaving a dramatic handprint as proof. Your friend doubles over laughing. "Elegant," they say. You brush yourself off. I was demonstrating magical friction loss in real time. Very advanced. More laughter. Another memory etched. A little farther down, the trees begin to thin. The firs give way to wider trunks, older woods. There's a clearing up ahead where students usually pause, partially to catch their breath, but mostly because the view from there is spectacular. You arrive at the edge of it and stop like everyone else. There it is, Hogsmeade, nestled snugly in the valley below. The village looks like something plucked from a storybook. Chimneys curl with smoke into the morning sky. Rooftops slope unevenly beneath their thick caps of snow. Lanterns glow softly, even in daylight, casting golden halos onto the cobbled streets. You can make out the pointed sign of Honeydukes, the round roof of the 3 broomsticks, the crooked shingles of Zonko's joke shop. It's small, but it glows. "Whoa," someone whispers. Just that. Nothing else needed. "Okay," your friend says with a deep breath. "Now it's real." The path winds down further now, steeper than before. You walk carefully, leaning into the slope, using your wand once to steady yourself on a particularly icy bend. The smell of something sweet, maybe baked apples, wafts faintly on the breeze. You can hear laughter from farther ahead, students already inside the village, probably slipping on doorsteps or arguing over who pays for the first round of sweets. You pass a little bench carved from stone, half covered in snow. Someone's drawn a smiley face on the backrest in melting frost. A Gryffindor couple sits there, heads bent together, hands just barely touching. You keep walking. The houses at the edge of the village begin to peek through the trees. Tiny fences, gnarled chimneys, crooked mailboxes with names like Twig, Fernwick, and Puddlestone etched in brass. One cottage has a snowman out front with a moving carrot nose that keeps sneezing. Another has a stack of enchanted firewood, arguing about whether or not it wants to be burned today. "I already miss the library," a quiet voice says behind you. You turn. It's a Slytherin you vaguely recognize, walking with a parchment-stuffed satchel and an expression that clearly does not want to buy a nose-biting teacup. You nod at them. Honeydukes has a chocolate that silences internal monologue. Might be helpful. They pause, then smile. "I'll take 6. The path opens fully now. No more trees, no more snowbanks, just cobblestones, and the village stretching wide before you. People are everywhere. Scarves flutter, doors open with little bells. A group of Hufflepuffs is already crowding around a cart, selling magical candied chestnuts that glow red when they're hot enough to eat. A fresh wave of excitement surges through your chest. This isn't just a walk. This is the threshold. You've arrived. Your friend spins around in a slow circle. "So, where to?" You answer without hesitation. "All of it." The first thing you notice about Hogsmeade, properly notice, is that it smells like cinnamon, chimney smoke, and trouble in the best way. As you step off the snowy path and onto the uneven cobbled street, the village opens up around you like a wizarding pop-up book. It's somehow exactly what you imagined, and also better. The houses are small but tall, like someone cast an engorgio on a dollhouse. Their rooftops sag under the weight of snow. Their chimneys puff like overworked teapots, and their signs swing lazily in the frosty breeze. There's not a single straight wall in sight. Everything leans, slouches, creaks. And yet, it all fits together, like a spell designed for coziness. You pause near the village's entrance with your friends, blinking snowflakes from your eyelashes. A lantern flickers beside you, casting a warm glow onto the cobblestones. Above the rooftops, the sky is a soft gray-white that feels like it could drop more snow at any moment. And honestly, you hope it does. To your right, a cart groans under a mountain of enchanted knitwear. A sign above it reads, "Self-warming socks, no refunds if they burn you." To your left, a pair of third years is already arguing over which direction Honeydukes is in. "It's this way," one insists, pointing confidently toward a narrow alley that definitely smells like pickled troll toes. "You said that last time, and we ended up in someone's laundry shed," the other retorts. You decide to let them sort that out on their own. Your own group has already split into factions. One is plotting a sweets first strategy. Another is dead set on finding the 3 broomsticks and planting themselves in a booth with Butterbeer until someone physically removes them. You? You're somewhere in between. You want to see everything. A gust of wind sends a swirl of snow into the air, glittering as it spins. It dances between students and settles gently on your hood. You pull your scarf up higher and begin walking. The village is alive with noise and color. Magical signs flash cheeky slogans. Socks that scream when lost. And try our jelly slugs, no legal responsibility taken. A few shops you can't even identify. One appears to be selling sentient snow globes that hiss when shaken. Somewhere behind you, Fred Weasley shouts, "George, I told you the snow potion goes in the blue kettle." A muffled poof follows. Then shrieking. You glance back. A small explosion of red snow has covered 3 first years and part of a building's outer wall. Fred is howling with laughter. George looks extremely proud. The first years look festive. "Accidental," George says to a passing professor who is clearly pretending not to see anything. You continue down the street with a smirk tugging at your lips. This is what it means to be out of the castle. Not just freedom, but the kind of freedom that has side effects. A few windows in the upper levels of the shops have opened slightly. Someone inside is playing an old, enchanted record that sounds like a wizarding swing band. It adds a bouncing rhythm to the village atmosphere, like the whole street might start dancing. You pass a group of Ravenclaws huddled around a parchment map with glowing ink. Zonko's is exactly 127 paces from the post office, one says with serious authority. "Unless you're chased by a singing snowman," another mutters. "You were chased by a snowman once, and now it's everyone's problem." You keep walking. The buildings here are closer together, leaning like they're whispering secrets to each other. You pass shop after shop, a wand repair stall with an awning made from broom bristles, a tiny cafe that sells nothing but toasted marshmallows in 600 varieties, and a bookstore with a door that opens. Away from the handle if it doesn't like your energy. "Did that door just snub me?" your friend says, insulted. You pat their shoulder. "Maybe it sensed your grades?" They shove you lightly. You almost slip. Fair. Further ahead, you spot a snowy village square where students are gathered around a snow sculpture. Charms, classwork, probably. It's meant to be a stag, but it currently has the wings of a bat and the teeth of a crocodile. A third year is chasing it with a transfiguration textbook, yelling, "I said graceful, not terrifying." You take it all in. The noise, the charm, the vaguely dangerous snow. The whole place hums with life. And then, just as you're about to turn the corner toward Honeydukes, something small and solid slams into your leg. You stumble, nearly trip, and look down to find a dwarf, you say aloud. Indeed, it is a very small, very bearded wizard in a woolen cloak, arms full of parcels, scowling up at you as if you've just insulted 3 generations of his ancestors. "I'm walking here," he barks, adjusting his grip on a very suspicious-looking box that wriggles slightly. "Sorry," you mutter, backing up. He huffs, stomps around you, and mutters something about tall folk with no spatial awareness. Your friend catches up, grinning. You just got told off by a dwarf with a haunted biscuit box. You lift your chin. I respect his efficiency. You finally stop near a stone fountain, half frozen and ringed with small fairy lights. You take a deep breath and glance around. This is Hogsmeade. It's odd, loud, snowy, tilted, full of things that probably shouldn't be allowed by the ministry, and absolutely perfect. You pull your mitten off and let a snowflake land on your bare finger, watching it melt into nothing. Somewhere ahead, Honeydukes is calling. The sign above the door is swinging gently when you arrive. Honeydukes Sweet Shop, carved in curling golden letters, dusted with a light coating of snow. A few flakes cling to the windows, but even the frost can't obscure the colors glowing from within. Behind the glass, row upon row of candy jars, stacked like treasure, each one sparkling, pulsing, or occasionally twitching in place. The door swings open with a cheerful ding, and a wave of sugar-laced warmth hits you, full in the face. The air inside Honeydukes smells like melted chocolate, spun sugar, peppermint, and mischief. You barely take 3 steps before your senses are overwhelmed. The shop is loud, bright, and absolutely packed. Students weaving between towering displays of rainbow sweets, shouting out flavor names like spells, fudge flies, exploding bonbons, sherbet snakes. Where are the sugar quills, not the ones that draw on your tongue? The floor seems to pulse slightly underfoot, not from magic, but from sheer enthusiasm. You sidestep a 3rd year clutching 3 jars of fizzing powder, duck under a floating sign that reads, "No sampling unless you want to be hexed," and immediately lose track of your friends. You don't care. You're here. This is the heart of student fantasy, the sanctuary of every 11-year-old who sat dreaming of licorice wands, while pretending to care about cauldron thicknesses. You grab a green basket near the entrance. It wobbles in your hands. You realize it's lightly charmed, grows larger as needed, shrinks when you try to remove things. A subtle way of saying, yes, take more. You oblige. The first display you reach is a glittering tower of acid pops, each one flickering faintly in its wrapper, like it might burn a tiny hole through the shelf. You remember hearing a cautionary tale in first year about a Gryffindor who licked one twice and temporarily lost their front teeth. You take 2. You add them to your basket, which makes a faint oof sound as the weight hits. That's mildly concerning. Next comes pepper imps. In a sleek black tin that practically vibrates with spice. You pocket one with a mental note. Do not consume before flying lessons. Beside you, someone's shouting over a jar of tooth-flossing string mints. I don't want it to floss my teeth. I want it to taste like mint. You smile, amused, and turn down the next aisle, only to immediately be greeted by a small, humming mountain of fudge flies. The wings are sugar glass. The body is a kind of caramel fudge that's rumored to alter your mood depending on the flavor. You've always liked the marbled kind, chocolate and lavender. It's supposed to boost focus, but mostly it makes your head feel fizzy and clear. You reach for one, just as someone else's hand does the same. You pause. You both look up at the same time. It's a Slytherin 5th year, tall, impeccable cloak, extremely arched eyebrows. They glance at you, glance at the last lavender chocolate fudge fly, glance back. You both take it at the same time. There's a pause. Then, after a beat, they offer a very small, very smug smile and place it in your basket. You blink. Thanks? They nod once. Don't ruin your palate with dung bomb flavored chews. They've gone mainstream. And then they vanish into the next aisle like smoke. You stare after them for a second, baffled and mildly impressed. Then you shake it off and keep going. Near the back of the shop, you finally find your friends, crowded around the chocolate frog display. One of them has already opened 3 and is trying to catch a 4th that's halfway to the ceiling beam. Why don't they come with frog nets? Your friend yells. Because Hogwarts hates us, another replies, throwing a crumpled wrapper in a desperate arc. The frog lands on the top shelf. You cast a gentle summoning charm, Accio Frog, and it floats neatly into your hand, still wiggling faintly. Your friend looks at you like you've just tamed a dragon. I love you, they say flatly. I know, you reply, handing it over. After collecting your fill of frogs, including one rare Circe card, which you guard with your life, you turn toward the more experimental section. This is where the real chaos lives. Exploding bonbons, singing licorice wands, and whistle pops that change pitch depending on your mood. And, of course, the infamous blood-flavored lollipops, tucked away near the birdie bots every flavor beans. You're not sure if they're real or if it's just a very niche prank. Either way, you skip it. You settle, instead, on a small bag of fizzing Whizbees, charmed to lift you 2 inches off the ground for 10 seconds. You've seen people take 2 at once and float like balloon animals down the corridor. You intend to test that science yourself. You meet your friends again near the register. Everyone's basket is overflowing. Yours is groaning. I blacked out near the caramel cobwebs, one of your friends confesses. I spent 6 galleons, and I regret none of it, another announces, clutching a fistful of toffee talons. As you approach the counter, the shopkeeper, an older wizard with spectacles too large for his nose and a voice like fizzing cider, rings up your purchases with a chuckle. First time, eh? You nod. He nods back, as if that explains everything. Careful with the sour spells. They're a bit stronger than last year's batch. Good to know, you say, eyeing the small, sinister tin in your bag. He wraps your items with a wave of his wand and sends the bag floating gently into your hands. Enjoy the sugar rush, he adds. Oh, we will, someone mutters behind you, already unwrapping something that looks suspiciously like it contains glitter. You step out of Honeydukes and into the cold once more. The snow has picked up, falling thicker now, but you barely notice. Your bag is warm against your side. Your scarf smells faintly of cinnamon, and your heart feels 2 sizes larger, filled with sweets, warmth, and something very close to magic. This is what it means to be young and free and enchanted. This is Honeydukes. You don't walk into Zonko's joke shop. You're absorbed by it. From the moment you step onto the cracked stone threshold, the building practically grabs you by the collar and yanks you inside. The door opens with a jangling bell that sounds suspiciously like it's laughing at you, and a whoosh of scented air, bubblegum, soot, and something sulfuric hits your face like a welcome slap. The shop is absolute, glorious chaos, floor to ceiling. The walls are crammed with shelves that defy logic. Items float, items bounce, items explode softly in the corners with cheery pop noises. There's a constant low hum, like the room itself is charged with fizzing magical static. You swear the carpet shifts under your feet depending on where you walk. You stop 3 steps in, wide-eyed, already overwhelmed. This is the most beautiful place I've ever seen, your friend whispers with genuine awe. Fred and George Weasley are, of course, already inside and already responsible for 2 separate security charms going off. We're just testing their fire resistance rating, George says, holding up a singed pair of sneezing powder socks with pride. Fred shrugs. If the socks can't handle mild combustion, are they even prank-worthy? Madame Sprottle, the current keeper of Zonkos, and a woman with neon green hair and an attitude to match, appears from behind a pile of levitating trinket boxes. I swear on Merlin's left sock, boys, one more mild combustion and you're banned until the century turns. They salute. You slip away from the chaos, drawn like a moth to the shelves nearest the back. Each one is packed tight with joke item, prank kits, and absolutely unnecessary inventions that spark pure delight. The first thing you touch is a chattering ink pot, which insults your penmanship the moment you pick it up. Really? That loop on your F? I've seen better penmanship from a hippogriff with a fever. You carefully put it down and back away slowly. Next to it is a shelf stacked with fanged frisbees, spinning silently, but growling when you get too close. A handwritten tag reads, "Will bite prefects. Ask us how." You take one. Your friend is drawn to a display labeled "Pockets of Endless Sand." Bags that appear normal until opened, at which point a stream of colorful magical sand pours out with no sign of stopping. This seems risky, they say, eyes gleaming. Definitely, you reply. Get 2. In the corner, a young Hufflepuff accidentally triggers a puffing powder puff, which inflates her into a round, fluffy orb of glittery smoke. She floats gently toward the ceiling, shouting apologies and giggling. "New arrival," says Madame Sprottle, unbothered. "Glitter disperses in 4 minutes, or a sneeze, whichever comes first." You drift further in. The walls are lined with colorful boxes, most labeled with varying levels of honesty. Bungling broomstick handles. Swap out your friends for a laugh. Dizzy drops. Spin in place for 30 seconds, only slightly permanent. And bubble-beard chews, which explode into foamy beards upon contact with saliva. There's even an entire section labeled "Definitely Not Dangerous." It is, naturally, barricaded by a rope that's more symbolic than functional. You find a small, mimic mirror and peer into it. It reflects you, almost, except your expression is always just one step more dramatic than reality. You blink. Your reflection gasps and swoons. You grin. This is either amazing or cursed. Same thing, your friend says, peering over your shoulder. A small crowd gathers near a central table, where a wizard in Zonko's livery is demonstrating the newest product: booming balloon badgers. They look innocent, small, puffy, and vaguely badger-shaped, until the demonstrator pokes one. It erupts in a burst of confetti and a shout of, "You're late for herbology!" Everyone applauds. You and your friends fan out, gathering a few choice items for your bag: stink pellets, reversible hats, and something called a whiz-worm that wiggles like a noodle and writes rude messages on windows. It's all nonsense. It's all perfect. You make your way to the back room, technically off limits, but the curtain is drawn and curiosity is stronger than signage. Inside is Zonko's legacy shelf. Older items, stranger items, relics from a time when jokes were less about harmless chaos and more about harmless terror. You see a chameleon campelet. It vanishes just your head. A box of mouthy mittens that won't stop narrating your actions. And a glowing vial labeled "Potion of Temporary Confidence, not responsible for overuse." You hesitate. You do not take it. But you consider it. Eventually, you return to the front where your friends are already paying. The counter is manned by a sentient cash register that hums a cheerful tune as it rings up mischief. Your friend nudges you. "Think they'll let us test these in the courtyard?" "I think they'll expect us to." As you step back outside, arms full of mischief, the world feels a little lighter. Not just from the joke shop madness, but from the shared laughter, the weirdness, the sense that you're allowed, encouraged, even, to be ridiculous. Zonko's doesn't teach spells, but it teaches something just as powerful. That laughter, like magic, is best when shared, and maybe slightly chaotic. You're halfway to the next shop when you see it. Nestled between a quill boutique and a store that only sells enchanted mittens, sits a quaint little tea house with curly gold lettering and fogged-up windows. A Madame Puttyfoot's tea shop. It's a lot. The window display alone is a warning. Floating lace doilies, a heart-shaped wreath that plays harp music every time someone walks by, and a sign that reads, "Couples welcome, singles too, we suppose." "We." Your friend slows beside you. "Is that glitter steam?" You squint. "I think it's rose-scented. Should we go in?" You both look at each other, then look through the foggy window. That's when you spot them. Two of your classmates, definitely not aware they're being observed, are seated at a tiny corner table. There's a teacup levitating gently between them. One of them is blushing so hard they match the raspberry macarons floating overhead. You take a cautious step back. They're on a date. Your friend gasps like they've witnessed a crime. Inside, a floating teacup bumps gently against the head of the blushing student. The other one panics, tries to catch it, knocks over a sugar bowl, and nearly topples the table. It's, magnificent. You both duck below the window before you burst out laughing. You recover eventually, wiping a tear from your cheek as your friend chokes out. They looked like they were being held hostage by the decor. The decor looked like it was planning a wedding. You dare to peek inside again, just for fun. The entire place is pastel pink, with satin ribbons on every chair, enchanted teapots pouring themselves slowly and dramatically, and heart-shaped steam rings rising from every cup. There are couples everywhere, some whispering shyly, some awkwardly sipping from opposite sides of the same straw, like they've never spoken aloud before. It's like romance itself was asked to decorate a room and went wildly over budget. You spot Madame Puddifoot herself flitting from table to table, short, plump, rosy-cheeked, and wielding a tray like a wand. She clearly runs the place with the chaotic energy of a fairy godmother who refuses to be questioned. I feel like if we go in, we'll be assigned a partner and made to hold hands. You murmur. I kinda want to go in just to see what happens. Your friend admits. You inch closer to the door, almost tempted. Then another teacup explodes in the back corner, and one of your classmates shrieks. That was not a love charm. You pivot so fast you nearly slip. On second thought, I like breathing too much. As you walk away, back toward the relative sanity of open snow and butterbeer, you hear one last line shouted from inside the tea house. Stop talking about our feelings in public. You and your friend dissolve into laughter again. And as ridiculous as it is, there's something sweet about it, too. Hogsmeade has jokes, sweets, chaos, but it also has places like this. Ridiculous, soft, pink, and full of stammered declarations. Maybe someday you'll step inside. Today? you're good with laughing outside. The door to Dervish and Bonches doesn't open so much as it hisses. An odd, enchanted sound, like someone letting out a long, suspicious breath. As you and your friend step inside, you're instantly met with the unmistakable scent of magical metals, old parchment, heated brass, and something faintly electrical. The warmth of the shop is immediate, but not cozy. It's the kind of warmth that comes from machinery left running too long. The air vibrates faintly with magic, like every object inside is on the verge of doing something it probably shouldn't. The space is dimmer than Honeydukes or Zonko's, but in a way that makes everything gleam more. Tools hang from the walls like enchanted skeletons. Devices turn themselves over on velvet cushions. Gears spin lazily inside glass domes. In the far corner, a set of cauldrons stacks and unstacks itself in a rhythm that doesn't quite match any beat you've ever heard. You glance at your friend, who's already wandered off toward a display marked mildly experimental, mostly legal. That seems about right. You start near the entrance, a table of enchanted measuring tapes unspooling in slow circles. Each one floats a few inches above its own label, twitching like they are eager to measure something, anything. As you lean closer, one snaps to attention, zips toward your shoe, and declares in a flat voice, "Left foot, average." You back up quickly. Next to it, a rack of self-cleaning cauldron brushes clicks together like wind-up toys. One starts scrubbing its own bristles on the shelf in anticipation. You don't touch it. It seems a little too enthusiastic. Further inside the shop, you find a rotating case filled with spinning spell spheres, each one containing a single-use charm stored inside a clear glass orb. You pick one up labeled Feather Fall. The moment your fingers close around it, the sphere hums, glows gently, then whispers, "Don't drop me unless you're absolutely sure." You place it back very, very carefully. Your friend appears beside you, holding a vibrating box. "What's that?" you ask. They shrug. "Box." The box vibrates louder. A clerk pokes his head out from behind a curtain. A hunched wizard with a long apron, wild hair, and glasses that appear to be fogged on the inside. "That's a snitch decoy," he wheezes, "buzzes when no one's looking." Your friend hands it back immediately. On the next shelf, there's a tray of hover pins, little brass charms that cause objects to float a few inches off the surface they rest on. A nearby quill is suspended mid-air above an ink bottle, turning slowly, pointed downward. Would make homework look impressive your friend mutters. Might actually write it for you, you say. It dips once. Maybe it agrees. You wander toward the center of the shop, where the Tinker's Carousel is located. A revolving hexagon of tiny compartments, each holding something weird, wonderful, or questionably safe. You spot a teacup that hisses when touched, a wand holster that adjusts to your mood, currently looks moody, a gear-driven music box labeled Plays Your Thoughts. You open it. A tune begins, slightly heroic, slightly chaotic, oddly dramatic. Your friend stares. Wow! You close it. We don't talk about it. You move on. Behind the counter, another clerk is delicately feeding what appears to be a mechanical bird. It chirps once, then coughs up a scrap of parchment that reads, "Tomorrow is a terrible day for math." Oh. The clerk nods, satisfied. Prophecy confirmed. You continue exploring. There's a display of wand-enhancing attachments, tiny charms that click onto the end of your wand. Some promise better aim. Others offer aesthetic flair. One has Batwing. Another lights up like a sparkler. You try one labeled Quiet Confidence. Your wand glows faintly purple. You feel no different, but your friend gives you a slow thumbs up. You return it anyway. Near the back of the shop, you stumble across a glass cabinet labeled Absolutely Do Not Touch Unless You Mean It. Naturally, you mean it. Inside, you see, a monocle that lets you see what the walls are hiding. A quill that writes your unconscious thoughts while you sleep. A deck of cards that shuffles itself until it's in the exact order you feared. You stare at that last one longer than you should. Eventually, your friend drags you away toward a large table near the exit, where enchanted display cards flicker and change with the light. You recognize a few items. Self-heating gloves whistle when they're losing warmth. Chameleon cloak clasps change color every hour. Portable shield generators, guaranteed to block minor hexes or light insults. You choose two things: a set of hex binding threads for repairing slightly cursed robes, a whirring stopwatch which counts time backward only when you're nervous. Perfectly useless. Utterly irresistible. At the counter, the clerk rings up your choices with a grin. "Anything bite?" he asks. You glance at your bag, which growls softly. "Only a little." As you leave, the door hisses shut behind you. The cold air outside rushes in like a spell breaking. The village hums with life, and your bag, full of humming, twitching, questionably magical items, pulses once and goes still. You take a deep breath your scarf catching the scent of polished brass and ozone. One more stop closer to a perfect Hogsmeade day. The 3 broomsticks sits at the end of the lane like a warm, glowing promise. Light spills from its wide front windows in buttery rectangles that stretch across the snow-covered street, and steam curls from the roof like it's exhaling the secrets of 100 conversations. You and your friends are cold, overloaded with shopping bags, slightly sugar-buzzed, and officially ready to sit down. The door creaks as you push it open, letting in a swirl of frosted air and the chatter of voices, the clink of mugs, the occasional thump of boots against the wooden floor. The smell hits you first: butter, cinnamon, roasted nuts, and something sweet you can't name but want to drink by the gallon. A fireplace crackles in the corner, surrounded by chairs so well worn they practically sigh when someone sits in them. Overhead, a chandelier made of twisted, low-hanging iron casts warm amber light across the room. Every table is crowded with cloaks, cups, laughter, and crumbs. This is the kind of place that feels like it exists outside of time. You spot an open booth near the window and immediately scramble for it. As you're sliding in, you notice a cluster of familiar faces near the back. Professors, at least 4 of them, sitting around a large circular table, laughing over mugs like old friends who remember what it was like to be students themselves. Professor Flitwick is perched on 2 stacked cushions, enthusiastically retelling something that involves dramatic wand motions and sound effects. Professor Sprout has a Butterbeer in one hand and a knitting project in the other, nodding calmly. Professor Sinistra is sipping something dark with steam rising in soft spirals and watching the entire room like she's taking notes. And Professor McGonagall is laughing. Actually laughing. You blink. "That's unsettling," someone at your table whispers. Your friend leans in, eyes wide. Do we acknowledge them?" "No," you hiss. "We pretend we saw nothing, like cats in the forbidden forest." Your Butterbeer arrives just in time. Madame Rosmerta herself brings it over, charming as ever, with a tray balanced on one hand and a wink that could disarm a curse. "You all look frozen," she says. "Drink up before you become permanent icicles." The mugs are warm in your hands, steaming slightly, the scent curling around your face like a hug. You take your first sip, and the world narrows to this one moment. It's sweet, creamy, perfectly spiced. The foam leaves a faint mustache on your upper lip, and you make no attempt to wipe it off. You don't talk much at first. Everyone's too busy thawing out. Boots steam under the table. Mittens are shoved into pockets. Cloaks are draped on chair backs like soft, magical snow piles. Your friend sighs. Best drink on the planet. Another raises their dog in solemn agreement. To warmth. You all clink mugs, sending a tiny puff of froth into the air. At the next table over, a group of older Hufflepuffs are engaged in a heated discussion about which of the school's staircases has the worst personality. It's the one near the third-floor armor hall, someone insists. It waits until you're late, then moves. No way, says another. The charms corridor, one tried to eat my boot. You can't help but smile. Over in the Vair booth, Fred and George are playing a silent game of who can balance the most Bertie Bott's beans on a spoon held between their teeth. The record is currently at 7. A low murmur of magical conversation drifts around you. Talk of future Quidditch matches. A new owl post-delivery prank gone wrong. Someone's cousin who supposedly charmed their scarf to follow them like a snake. Outside, snow continues to fall. Inside, the windows fog with warmth and stories. Your friend nudges you and subtly points again at the professor table. Professor McGonagall has just elbowed Professor Sprout in the ribs over something Flitwick said. You don't know what it was, but they're all laughing, like they've forgotten for a moment they're supposed to be intimidating. Okay, that's kind of comforting, your friend says, sipping from their mug. Yeah, you say quietly. They're human. Mostly. The rest of your group settles into the meal like a blanket. Quiet conversations, occasional outbursts of laughter, mugs refilled, crumbs stolen, butterbeer sloshed as someone tells a story with too much hand motion. You lose track of time. You don't care. Eventually, you realize your hands are no longer numb. Your shoulders have dropped from your ears, and the inside of your coat is filled with crumbs from a shared treacle tart. You don't remember when it arrived. You don't remember eating it. You do remember smiling through all of it. Madame Rosmerta floats by again, her tray now balanced with mugs and what might be a steaming bread pudding. Anything else? She asks. Bit of pumpkin fizz, a little pickled onion tart. You shake your head, full and warm and happy. You glance back at the professor table one last time. They're still there, still laughing. It occurs to you that maybe they've had more than one butterbeer. Professor Flitwick is trying to charm a butter knife into doing cartwheels across the table. It's not working. Professor Sinistra watches it fail with the serene patience of someone who knows the stars will outlive them all. You leave a few sickles on the table, gather your things, and step out into the snow. It's darker now. The sky has gone sud and blue. The street is quieter. The village winding down. But the 3 broomsticks glows behind you, alive and warm, a beacon of foam, firelight, and the kind of laughter that lingers even after you've stepped away. You didn't mean to end up in Gladrag's wizard wear. It just happened. One moment, you're standing outside the 3 broomsticks, full of butterbeer and treacle tart, watching your breath fog up in the evening chill. The next, someone casually mentions Yule Ball robes, and suddenly your entire friend group is swept into a boutique with more lace, velvet, and suspiciously glittery mannequins than you've ever seen in your life. Gladrags greets you with a gust of enchanted fragrance, something like polished cherry wood, fresh parchment, and slightly burnt lavender. The floor glows softly under your feet. The walls ripple with color as racks rearrange themselves, as if trying to size you up before you even say a word. Why does it smell like elegance and anxiety in here? You mutter. No one answers. They're already hypnotized by the endless racks of spell-fitted wizard wear. At the center of the shop, a mannequin rotates slowly in full formal attire. Deep emerald velvet robes that shimmer like dragon scales. Its hat tips itself toward you. You step back. It bows. This was a mistake. A shopkeeper materializes from behind a curtain, tall, perfectly groomed, and holding a wand like a baton. They glide across the floor in a single movement, assessing you with eyes so sharp they could slice silk. Looking for formal wear? They ask, voice smooth as polished glass. You open your mouth to say something diplomatic. Instead, you nod. The spell is cast. Within seconds, you're in a fitting room. Robes are already flying toward you, levitating, flipping, swirling around like enchanted dancers auditioning for your approval. The first one tries to tie itself onto you before you've taken your coat off. No, you say flatly. It slinks away. You take off your coat and cautiously approach a second set. These ones, navy blue, with a constellation charm that shifts with your mood. You try them on. They make your arms look oddly heroic, but your shoulders disappear entirely. You change again. The next pair is blindingly silver, shimmering so brightly the mirror politely dims itself. Your reflection raises its eyebrows in quiet concern. You agree. No, You're mid-change into the fourth set, deep maroon with black trim and sleeves that keep adjusting themselves. When your friend pokes their head in, already holding a pair of glitter-encrusted boots. "No words," they say. "Just support." You nod solemnly. That's friendship. After several more attempts, one pair that made a sound like a violin every time you moved, one that temporarily gave you antlers. Why? And one so tight you swore it was cursed. You find something manageable. Dark forest green, subtle embroidery at the cuffs, comfortable lining. You twist slightly in the mirror. Not bad. The mannequin by the door twirls approvingly. You emerge from the fitting area and spot your other friend halfway up a staircase display, arguing silently with a floating hemline. Their robes appear to be trying to add ruffles each time they speak. Another friend is frozen in front of the mirror, their reflection dramatically weeping in slow motion. You exchange a glance. No one speaks. Too much has happened. Somewhere behind you, someone knocks over a hat stand. It responds by huffing and relocating itself across the room. The shopkeeper sweeps by once more, waving their wand. Would you like a mild enchantment? Glitter? Anti-wrinkle? Scent tracking? We can even make it rustle heroically when you enter rooms. You open your mouth. Close it. No, thank you. They nod. Classic. A strong choice. You pay quickly, as if afraid the robes will change their mind. Outside, the sky is fully dark now, with snow beginning to fall in thick, slow flakes. Your bag, slim, magically folded, unreasonably expensive, swings at your side as you and your friends step back onto the cobbled street. "Why was that so stressful?" someone finally mutters. You just shake your head. Some memories speak for themselves, but as you walk, you realize something. You're kind of excited now. Nervous? Yes, but the good kind. You picture the lights of the Great Hall, the music, the swirl of color, and you in something that actually fits. You'll remember this. The chaos, the glitter, the way one sleeve tried to eat your watch. All of it. And somehow, it was worth it. You've walked through snow-slicked cobbles, braved enchanted mannequins, wrestled with feather-trimmed sleeves, and now, finally, you find yourself at the edge of Hogsmeade. Not the border exactly, but close enough to feel it. The path here is quieter. Fewer lanterns. The shops thin out behind you. The sound of students laughing and windows creaking grows distant, leaving only the muffled crunch of snow beneath your boots and the whisper of wind across the open hillside. Up ahead, looms the silhouette of the Shrieking shack. Crooked, tilted, and silent. It's the kind of building that feels like it's holding its breath. Even from this distance, the house leans toward you, windows empty and watchful. The fence surrounding it is old and warped, barely held together by magic and spite. You slow your steps as the others in your group naturally quiet down, the way people do near sacred things, or haunted things, or both. Someone whispers, "It's not really haunted, is it?" No one answers. No one needs to. Your eyes catch on something unexpected. A small, foldable table set up near the fence, half buried in a drift of snow. There's a single candle burning on it, bright blue flame, untouched by the wind. Beside it stands a student, not much older than you, wrapped in 3 scarves and balancing a crooked little display of handmade magical trinkets. They don't speak. They don't need to. A hand-lettered sign floats gently above the table. Enchanted keepsakes, charms for safe return. Pay what feels right. You approach slowly, boots creaking, breath fogging in front of your face. The trinkets are small, simple, personal. A tiny brass key that hums when held. A stone coin etched with an unknown rune that glows faintly when turned over. A wand-sized charm shaped like a star, glittering faintly with its own light. A ribbon looped in silver thread that twists in the air when you whisper your name. Each one different, each one quiet. You reach out, letting your fingers drift across the items without touching. The candle flickers as you hover over a small pendant carved from wood. Its center is hollow, filled with soft, shifting mist. The tag below it reads, "Carries one wish, cannot guarantee results." You pause. Pick it up. The mist inside the charm moves, swirling slowly, then stilling. It feels warm. You glance at the seller. They tilt their head as if to say, "That one's meant for you." You place a few sickles in the small dish beside the table, more than the sign requires, less than the charm is worth. Your friend steps forward and picks a small copper pin shaped like a beetle with gem-studded wings. It clicks once, politely, then folds itself into a sleeping shape. They say nothing. You both nod and step back. As you turn to walk back toward the path, you glance once more at the Shrieking shack beyond the fence. Still crooked, still silent. But the fence between you and it suddenly seems softer, less like a warning, more like a pause, maybe even a promise. Your group walks quietly down the hill, the snow falling heavier now, thicker flakes, slower descent. The lanterns glow brighter as you near them again. Shops reappear, golden lit and gently steaming, and the sound of evening laughter begins to build once more. You glance at the charm in your hand. The mist is still inside, swirling gently like it's dreaming of something. Your friend breaks the silence with a quiet line. Feels like a memory before it's happened. You nod. The rest of the walk is soft. No one speaks. There's no need. This moment stretches long, slow, sweet. A breath in before the final exhale of the day. By the time you reach the rest of the group, waiting near the top of the hill, the sky has gone full velvet. The stars flicker like frost. And somewhere behind you, past the charm stand and the fence and the watchful windows of the shack, the candle still burns, blue and steady. The owl office sits near the edge of the village square, tucked between the post supply shop and a tiny bakery that sells sugar quills shaped like quaffles. Its windows are steamed with condensation, and its sign, a beautifully hand-painted owl in flight, creaks gently in the winter breeze. You reach it just as a second-year exits, her scarf flapping and a parchment envelope clutched tightly in one mitten. She's smiling in that slightly breathless way people do when they've just done something meaningful and slightly chaotic. Inside, the warmth hits you first. It smells of parchment, feathers, candle wax, and something like eucalyptus. The room is softly lit with floating lamps, and the air hums gently with the flutter of wings, rustle of straw, and the distant coo of roosting owls. You tread carefully on the floorboards, not because you have to, but because the space feels like it deserves it, reverent in its own peculiar way. Behind the main desk, a witch with a high bun and reading glasses perched on her forehead glances up briefly, then returns to quietly sorting scrolls that move on their own when left unattended too long. She doesn't greet you. She doesn't need to. The owls do that for her. There are dozens here. No, hundreds. Nestled in perches high and low, clustered in rafters, tucked in enchanted alcoves that expand as needed. Some big as armchairs, some so small they could perch on a spoon. A few are sleeping. A few are watching. All of them seem entirely unimpressed with the drama of human emotion. You find the writing nook off to the right. It's a cozy alcove near a window, stocked with parchment, quills, and bottles of ink, each labeled "Quick Dry." frost-proof. And absolutely not for love confessions. You choose the frost-proof, just to be safe. The bench creaks as you sit. You unwrap your scarf halfway. You don't want to write while strangled. Outside the window, snow continues to fall in slow spirals. Hogsmeade looks like a living painting, rooftops glowing, lanterns twinkling, shop signs swaying gently under the weight of night. You dip your quill in the ink and begin your letter. Not a long one, just enough. You write about the Butterbeer, the glowing charm stand, the candy that tried to escape your bag, the robe that almost bit you, the snowfall. You leave out nothing important. You add nothing unnecessary. At the bottom, you sign your name. You wait for the ink to dry, even though you chose the quick dry. Some rituals deserve patience. When you approach the owl counter, a snowy owl lifts its head and blinks at you like it's been expecting this. It stretches once, unfurls its wings, and hops delicately to the lower perch. You offer the letter. It taps it with its beak, accepts. The postmistress walks by just then and pauses. "Good choice," she says simply. "That one likes clear handwriting." The owl waits as you tie the letter to its leg. No fuss, no flapping, just quiet certainty. When it lifts off, there's no sound, just a breeze and a flurry of snow shaken loose from the rooftop. You watch it go until it disappears into the dark. There's something ancient about that gesture, sending a message into the sky. It feels bigger than it should. Quieter, too. You wonder who else sent letters today. Who else felt this same strange hush after the flap of wings? You step back, adjust your coat, and head toward the door. Your friend is waiting, cradling a steaming cup of something that smells like cinnamon and nerves. You raise an eyebrow. "Wasn't a love confession," they mutter quickly. You don't say anything. You don't need to. The two of you walk back into the snow. Footsteps soft. Owl office behind you, like a warm breath still lingering at your back. You press your hands deeper into your coat pockets. One of them closes around something round and cold. Your charm from earlier. Still there, still holding mist. The world feels quiet again, but in a way that makes you feel larger inside your skin. You think, as you walk, of the letters people carry, and the ones they send. It's late now, late in the best kind of way. Shops have begun dimming their lights, and the windows that once glowed with firelight and sugar-fueled laughter now flicker softly, like candles preparing to sleep. Hogsmeade has quieted, but not in silence. more like a gentle exhale, as if the village itself is tucking in for the night. You and your friends stand near the edge of the square, where the snow-covered path back to the castle begins, looking up at the hill that winds its way home. You pass through the gates of Hogwarts as the snow begins to drift sideways, curling in lazy arcs under the archways. The courtyard is mostly empty now, just a few flickering lanterns, a trail of footprints quickly filling with white, and the soft hum of enchantments reawakening as students return one by one. The warmth of the entrance hall greets you like a sigh. You peel off your gloves, your boots heavy with slush, your scarf damp at the edges. The chatter of returning students echoes faintly up the staircases, but you move more slowly, your body tired in that satisfied, feet aching, heart full kind of way. Your dormitory is quiet when you reach it. You set your bag on the bed and drop down beside it, exhaling as if you've just finished a long story. Then you begin to unpack. First out is the charm from the Shrieking shack fence, still cool, still swirling with mist, still mysterious. You set it gently on your bedside table. Next, the last of your sweets from Honeydukes. One lonely fizzing whiz-bee, the wrapper slightly crumpled. You think about the shelves you didn't get to explore, the chocolates you didn't try, and the giant marshmallow wheel that was probably not meant to be eaten in one go. Regret. A whiz-worm from Zonko's slinks out of the bag on its own, wriggling toward the window and whispering something snarky about your handwriting. You flick it back with a quill. Then come the robes, neatly folded by the shopkeeper's spell. Thank Merlin. They look calmer now, not nearly as dramatic as they did under enchanted dressing room lights. A pin from the charm stall, the receipt from Gladrags, a quill that may or may not be cursed. You glance at it all, then flop back on your bed, arms outstretched like a very tired starfish. And then you think of it, sudden and strong. The Butterbeer, warm, rich, gently spiced. The mug in your hands, the foam on your lip, the clink of laughter in the air. You close your eyes and groan. I should have had one more Butterbeer. A beat passes. You sit up slowly, reach for your bag again. You dig through the pockets, half hopeful, half ridiculous. But no spare bottle, no enchanted thermos, no flask hidden by a clever charm. Just the sweet-smelling memory of the 3 broomsticks tucked somewhere between your robes and the crinkling Honeydukes wrappers. You sigh again, more dramatically this time. Next time, you promise yourself. Next time, 2 mugs. Minimum. You lie back again, blanket tucked over your shoulders, and let the castle creak softly around you. Outside the window, snow falls on stone, gentle and endless. Inside, your bag is lighter, your hands are warmer, and your heart still full.